to go about it in a go abouty sort of way.
Uh-huh.
Yes. That is my answer. Final answer. Locking it in.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Now, the funny thing is, the audience agreed that it was 25% not this answer. But
Yeah, well, I say, fuck the audience.
all the audience goes,
Yeah, got it.
dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. All right. You sure this is your final answer? You've locked in.
Why do you keep asking me? I'm
And,
locked in. I can't get
and,
out now at this point.
and we're going to commercial break. All right.
Who saw it coming? Everybody on the planet. Hey guys, welcome back to Chewing Pens Podcast. Uh, uh, and that's Brittany. And she's freaking me out.
That's okay.
It's fine. Oh wait, it's fine.
It's fine. So today our topic is part 2 of 2 videos about setting.
Or two of
Not
two.
4. You're holding up 4 fingers.
It's part 2 of 2. My nose is the little slashy mark.
Oh, I was gonna say, is that like the colon? 2 of 2.
Duh.
Or like, if you want to make it a colon, you do your eyes.
Yeah.
But then if you actually wrote this down, it would be V of V, so it's 5 of 5.
Mm.
Or the letter V of the letter V. Anyway, so we're talking about setting again.
Yes, we are. Very good. So unprofessional.
Who's talking to me?
Nobody.
Whatever.
I'm the only person who talks to you.
Moving on. So, we are going to talk about how to construct different settings based on different genres. So, I don't think we're going to be able to get into like crossover genres like paranormal romance or stuff like that.
Right.
But based on the stuff that we talk about, it's going to be pretty easy to figure out what you would do if you mix them up.
Put the pieces together. Put a haunted paranormal romance.
Yes.
Yeah. It's perfect.
Done. Okay. So, I forget what order we went in last time, but I think we started with horror, so we're going to start with horror.
Okay.
So in the last video, we talked about how in a lot of horror films and stories, they're very isolated. It usually takes place with the younger people, so a lot of the adults are not trustworthy, and, it's a very claustrophobic setting. So, where do you think you would start when you're constructing that sort of setting?
Well, if you're gonna construct if you're gonna do like an isolated town, it's a good idea to get the history of the town, I guess, because there has a reason as to why this town is so okay with all of these random people dying. So I guess it's also like a good idea to get your villain in a clear idea of your villain and the backstory of that, because
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, it will very well. So if you get your villain, your antagonist, your creature, demon, scarecrow thing, whatever it could be.
Whatever.
What is this head move you're doing?
My bangs are in my eyes.
Oh, struggle.
Anyway, so yeah, that's what I was thinking. That if you're gonna be creating a horror setting, I know last time we said I think when you're creating a story setting is one of the first places you'd want to start, but with horror I think it's a good idea to know who your bad guy is, because what they do to kill people and or torture people will have to fit within a certain setting. Right. So if it's like some guy kills people with what are those things called? I, I think I don't know what they're called. They're like the picks they use for climbing mountains. So if someone
X.
so so if someone kills people with that, then it obviously is going to take place near like a mountainy town or like in the
Right.
actual mountain and like near a
Yeah.
cabin. So like
Yeah.
it wouldn't make sense if it took place on a beach, is what I'm saying.
Uh,
So
why would there be a guy with a tiny pickaxe at the beach? I mean,
I mean,
that's
if
a
you're
vacation
going
spot.
for surprise and not making senseness, then I guess that would
Yeah,
work.
don't follow any of our guidelines.
Should kill people with like the ski poles at a beach.
Where the fuck did he get these? Why? Just why? I just imagine like all the people who are like involved in it are just like, what
Why
is
ski
happening?
poles?
Why? Why?
And then
Why
like
the
in the end,
beach?
that's like the when the last person dies, that's like their last word. Why ski poles, dude? Why? Why?
Ah! Scabbed in the face.
With the ski pole. And then he's just like drifting into the ocean, and all the fish are like, "What happened
Yeah, and
here?"
then the fish just start talking. They're just like, what the fuck is that thing?
Look,
Because they don't know what a ski pole
if you
is.
write this
Because
story, I want to read it.
I really do. Yeah.
The sequel has to be about the fish.
It'll
Just
be
saying.
it'll be a great horror comedy, but like actually like properly terrifying because like it's like a really well. It has to
Fish,
be really
if
well written horror.
when fish start talking, I mean, Finding
I mean,
Nemo was terrifying.
I just like the idea that it's like it's so it'll be like walls are set up. You actually feel terrified for these people, but because of
Your mic cut out for a sec.
stop, like I feel like I'm talking to my brother. Stop! God damn it!
Just slap it.
I don't want to slap. Not even my actual
Mike or
brother.
Mike? Which
Well,
Mike?
both of them.
Don't
I really
slap
don't
the
want to
mic.
deal with that can of worms that'll unleash if I slap my brother.
It'd be great. We
Mm.
should record it and put it on the internet.
Well, since he's in Arizona right now, I don't think it's gonna be a long
Look!
time.
Back to the horror story.
Anyway, yeah, like you were saying, like that your antagonist will really set up your setting. 'Cause you want to like these people this so since he's killing these people this way, what area should we put him in? So if he kills somebody with like an axe, a forest would be a very, very well thought out like place because maybe he's a lumberjack who died because a friend slid off his
Killer
slid off
lumberjack.
killer lumberjacks.
Love it.
Uh, but yeah, like you know, like if it's like a creepy demon who kills a sacrifice or whatever, like an isolated town would be perfect because yeah, where else is he gonna get those sacrifices?
Not in a city.
Not really. The city people would just like, fuck off, bro. Dude, I gotta go to work. Whatever. Do what you gotta do.
Well, if he is taking sacrifices, I mean, going to the city would be a good place because less people like are actually noticed.
Right, true.
You
Mm.
have to think these things through. The psychology of your killer is really gonna set up your setting.
Yeah,
So,
psychology, man.
with horror, a lot of what's gonna be reflected in your setting is gonna be the mind of the killer. So, before you start the setting, you want to know their motivation, their history, what made them become this. Are they like an undead thing come back, or are they like a legit human in a mask doing these things?
Right,
So
exactly.
So, like, if it's like a thing coming back, you have to figure out how they came back. Was it like a sad mom who was like, "No, he's my son," and then brings him back with like some ritual, and she dies, and he's like, "Now I can like suck her energy and like go kill things because no one ever liked me," like that. Or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's just a
These are just
stereotype.
thoughts that I have in my head sometimes.
Look, I just watched a documentary about killers, so in my spare
There's
time.
actually this great I can't remember what it's called, but it was on Netflix. But it's like it's a horror movie that like is set in the style of a documentary where like horror villains, like the psychopaths are like the norm, like it happens. And like a documentary crew follows him around and like as he prepares for his next kill and like how things are going. And it turns like it's just really I don't want to give it away, but it's actually like really well done. Like it sounds like it'll be like a bad movie, but it's actually really well written. And then it actually like becomes like a horror movie and it's yeah, it's really cool. It was really good.
Check it out.
Yeah, I wish I could remember what it's called, but
Just
it
look
was
in the
really good.
horror section on Netflix.
Yeah, just scroll
Just
through that.
watch everything in that section. You'll find it eventually.
You could probably Google what's that horror movie called where it's like set up like a documentary and it'll probably pop up. I know like the evil guy wears like a green mask thing, a creepy ghouly mask.
Gooey
I
mask.
think that's the cover of the movie, but I'm not sure. But it's really good. If I find it, I'll like text it to you so you can put it
In the doobly doo.
in the doobly doo. We're all brothers now, should we tell you? In the doobly doo.
Okay.
Are you having
Yeah.
fun with your bangs over there?
They're a bedhead. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the psychology is gonna be a big part of the setting. Like I think
Yeah.
one of the best I don't know. I really like the setting of The Shining and the psychology that um the psychology of the unknown force that causes Jack to become what he does combined with like this large area that only has 3 people in it is like so cool. Because you're like, you know, there's only 3 people here, but then he sees other people.
Who are these people?
It's
Yeah.
just really, it's a really big open space, but it's very claustrophobic and it kind of lends to the psychology of Jack, who is a writer, who is stuck
Right.
in his own world, and now that he has like basically no interaction with other people, he creates these interactions in this empty space. So because that's what he needed to go crazy,
Mm,
he needed that empty space as a setting. So
it's pretty good. I also like Misery's setting because it's like in a really secluded like mountain town and the guy crashes and then his feet are broken and it's just you feel extremely helpless. But like you also like on a weird perspective, you sympathize with what's her butt? Why can I not remember her name?
I never remember her name.
You know, I could never remember it.
The lady.
The lady. You kind of sympathize with her because she's just like she's lonely. Her favorite author just stumbles upon like her cottage and like all kinds of other like you slightly sympathize with her. She's crazy and you're rooting for the guy to get out, but on some sort of weird level you sympathize with her.
Well, yeah, especially since we're like avid readers, you know, you're
Yeah.
just like, if J.K. Rowling just like got crash landed in my cabin and we were stuck together, I wouldn't do that, no. It'd be like,
Probably not.
let's get you home.
You want some tea? Just I'll like invite her inside and be like, yeah, I can get a hooked up onto my computer and you can get a flight or whatever you need back. Or I
Oh,
have
your
a
feet are
phone.
broken? I have a car.
I'll drive you
Drive you to
to.
the
We
hospital.
literally live like 2 minutes away from a hospital. Like I got you.
There's only one doctor, but he knows what he's doing.
Got it. Uh, yeah, no, that's like another thing that I really like in horror novels is when you know the villain is crazy, but on some weird level you're sympathizing with them. Like they're like have like a relatable trait that you just kind of latch onto, and you're just like, oh well, he's not that bad, and then he guts like 5,000 people, and you're just like, well, okay, maybe he should be stopped.
Maybe he is that bad.
Maybe we should put an end to this.
Well, yeah, like, okay, this is getting into the actual horror genre. I don't
Yeah,
know if we should continue with this.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so that would be a good place to start with horror. Either know your setting and build your killer around that setting, or build your character for your killer and then build your setting around that. They're very the killer and the setting are very linked in horror.
Hmm.
So,
Yes. Next, I believe it's mystery. Yeah,
mystery.
mystery. We touched on it um in the last video, but like it was really like key to like figure out your mystery and the clues you wanted first, and that would define what your setting would be. So
Yeah.
like if you're gonna find like I think my example then was like, well, they find like a note in a basket. Where would they be? Where they would for some reason someone would put a note in a basket.
And it has to
So
make sense.
yeah.
You have to
So
have a puzzle in a setting
right.
where all the pieces are hidden, but it has to be hidden in a very
Right.
logical way.
Just play every Nancy Drew game and you'll figure out how.
Go to our other channel.
Yeah, if you want to go to our other channel where we play a crap ton of Nancy Drew games.
Right now, there's Tomb of the Last Queen on there, and we're playing a Deadly Device. So
It's great. It's pretty awesome.
it's great. Anyway,
But yeah, like not to just promote our other channel, like Nancy Drew, they're setting her the settings and the puzzles work very well together. Like everything kind of has a reason for
yeah,
being there. Even if it just looks like it's background stuff, like it's because that background stuff is actually hiding a secret like thing written in like whatever, like you can only see it when like it's noon and the sun is shining through that window and it shines through and you can see like letters on the glass or
yeah.
whatever.
And like the game that we're playing now. Not I'm not reading any Nancy Drew books at the moment,
Mm,
but the one that we're playing right now, like the setting is really small. Like there's only 2 floors and there's only like 3 rooms on each floor. So it's only like 6 different areas you can actually go
yeah.
to, but there's so much like hidden within those
And we still haven't
areas.
even gotten into one of the areas. There's still like an entire area we haven't gotten to yet because we can't get in.
Mysteries. But yeah, so yeah, with mystery it's going to be very the setting is going to be like a puzzle. So you want to set it up like where different pieces aren't going to be necessarily together and aren't going to necessarily make sense until the last piece is found.
Yeah. Until
And
you
that'll be
find
your
like,
twist.
yeah, exactly. Like you'll find like a random thing and you're just like, well, where the fuck does this go? And then it's at that moment where you're just like, I don't even know what I'm doing, and you finally like take out that piece that you found and you're just like, oh hey, this fits like so conveniently right here. Just look at that. And like
Ah.
and then you're just like that's more in video games more so than in the book. But
Well, yeah, but even with the book, everyone says that Nancy Drew is, Mary Sue type of character, but it's the mystery you're interested in. It's not Nancy.
yeah.
She's just the person that's finding all the pieces and has
Yeah.
the knowledge to put them all together. Like that's her only purpose. Like,
That's why, like in the Nancy Drew games, I really like it because like it's like you're helping Nancy, so it doesn't feel like it's just Nancy who's the super sleuth. You're also a super sleuth, and like you're the like she will highlight with a little magnifying glass the things that we need to see, but it's
she's
us who
like,
has to put
oh,
those
that's
pieces together.
interesting. Maybe we should click it, but you
Yeah,
don't have to.
I mean, if you don't, we're gonna be screwed for the next like 5 puzzles. But I mean,
It's up to you, darling.
but it's like it's up to you to put those pieces together.
Yeah,
Like for all of the like the little shitty puzzles where you have to like hit a button and it turns whatever thing or whatever,
yeah,
that's all you. That's you who has to figure that out. And so like that's why I think that's why I like Nancy Drew as like a character because she's not necessarily like a big part of the novel, but she makes you a part of the novel essentially.
yeah.
Which is
And
good.
with the mystery, I also wanted to mention like film noir type characters.
Mm,
You have the femme fatale and like the PI, and those are like pretty standard characters you have, and it's because the mystery matters. It's not necessarily the character. So they're
right.
very stereotypical and have like a very specific formula so that you can focus on the mystery and not these characters. Because yeah, they're gonna have some sort of love story because they're going through these trials together, and then they're gonna fall in love, and it's gonna be a thing. But that's not what you care about. You expect that's gonna happen.
Right, yeah. So I just want to point this out real quick. While you were talking, my screen froze, so you were stuck in this weird position, and it was like So great. I was like doing everything I could to not laugh. He was just like, listen to her words, stare at anything but the picture, because it's just not gonna do you any good to look at that.
Well, gee, thanks.
It was just so good. It was just like the greatest face. It was like the perfect place for it to freeze. You were just like, because it was like you're in like it mid hand motion, and you're just like,
I love it.
Anyway, back to the mystery settings.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's basic guideline is you need your mystery first. And plus that's also like just a good like thing to go by when you're writing any mystery novel is if you don't have your mystery first, you're going to get pieces that don't line up right. Like you'll have like a piece that you're like, "Oh, they found this thing." And then like you'll forget about it if you don't like if they just found it on a whim, you'll probably forget about it and
And
like
in the end, they'll end up with like all these different things. Like, well, I guess this is part of some other mystery. Are you, do you want these?
you want this stuff because I don't really need it. Like I figured it out. Like
Here you go.
here you go. Like he just brings it out of his chin. Here you go.
It's just like unties his tie. Here you go.
Yeah.
Here's all my knowledge on your half of this case that I wasn't even like going off of, but whatever.
So good. But yeah, the mystery will define your setting essentially. Is
Very much
how
so.
to go with mystery.
If you can't tell already, setting is very well connected to different parts of the story.
Like sometimes you can't just make a setting like, oh, we're gonna be in a house. Great.
But yeah, that's what a lot of people criticize YA books because they're just like they all take place in small towns and it's the new girl and everyone is just like new girl.
Ah.
So like it's just like a school setting and it's
Right. Well, that's because it's young adult. Everyone's in school still.
well I know, but like if they're all the same like type of school,
Right. True. That's why I really like this one book called Anna and the French Kiss. And her parents got divorced and her dad is like a famous romantic author or something, but he has enough money and he decided he wants to send his only child to this really important school in France. It's like a French school for American students or like non-Parisian students, whatever.
yeah.
And so it takes that high school setting and like multiplies it because she's in a foreign land. There, she doesn't even speak the language. She has no idea what she's doing there. She meets like a ton of people because there's like people from all over the world that are there. So like, or I think it's just American. I don't know. It's like weird, but like it just took the high school setting and kind of made it
Made it new.
different. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is why I really liked it. Plus, it was really good, and the main character is really funny.
Yeah. That's why I think a good those are words. I think that's one reason that the first Harry Potter book ended up doing so well because it didn't at first, but it ended up, you know, it's this little kid's basically going to middle school, but look at his middle school.
It's a castle. It's amazing.
hmm
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's taking the high. Well, we'll get more to that when we go into young adult. But yeah,
Yeah.
what was next after mystery?
Fantasy.
Fantasy. All right. Yes. It's we talked like
We
we
talked
talked.
about this one a lot
Yeah,
last
yeah.
time.
Because we both love fantasy novels a lot. Um, but like it's a good idea to get the history of your world first when you make a fantasy novel because if you're gonna do a fantasy novel set in an entirely different world, like Middle Earth or whatever, there's like that's like a world that nobody knows because it's not our Earth, it's not our world or
Yeah.
whatever. So you need to have a lot of backstory, a lot of history to it in order for it to feel realistic.
Yeah,
Even though it is fantasy, it needs to feel like it could be real.
Yeah, this is a genre where the setting is going to be very overshadowing in the very beginning process because it's so important to have a setting that makes sense in a
hmm
world that no one has ever been to.
Exactly, yeah. So if you like if you just tried to like start writing a story where it's set in this mystical land of
Yeah, and
Lalabla,
blah blah
Lalabla,
blah
Lalabla. That is
blah
our
blah blah.
fantasy world. If you
So
just throw some characters into Lalabla, and your reader's gonna be like, "Well, what the fuck is Lalabla? I don't even know what that is."
yeah,
So
and then like you have like maybe the first scene is these two horsemen are just like riding their horses and they encounter a dragon. How did the dragon get there? Where are they? Like, is
what
this
are they doing?
normal? Why are they freaking out? Do they not know what a dragon is?
Is
Are
that
dragons
normal?
supposedly it's extinct in this world?
Yeah.
Like,
There's like it's
there's so
so
many questions right off the bat
yeah.
because
I
it's
just
not
love
our world.
I love The Hobbit and the way it starts because it starts very simple and like there's a hole in the ground. And it was like, all right, that's cool. There's a hole in the ground. That's cool.
Is this
And
a
then like
rabbit?
and then like he goes on to explain and like in that one chapter he spends a lot of time describing the Hobbit hole, but that's because what the fuck is a hobbit? Nobody knows what a hobbit is. The hobbit never existed. Well, there's like halflings in like some fantasy novels, but nothing quite like a hobbit. So to understand a hobbit took a lot of explanation of just where they live. And so just in that first chapter, he explains hobbits so
Yeah,
very clearly. Like you know what a hobbit is. You know exactly what Bilbo Baggins looks like. You know exactly what he's like. You
yeah,
know exactly why it's very weird for him to agree to go on this freaking ridiculous quest because why would he? He is a person of stature in at Bag End, and he's got this glorious, wonderful hobbit hole to live in. Why would he spend who knows how long with a bunch of dwarves and a wizard?
why? Why, Bilbo? Why? Yeah, because I think fantasy when if you once you have the setting all worked out, it's a the journey for a reader in fantasy is to discover that world.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why a lot of the characters in fantasy are characters that are leaving their home for the first time, so that they're
Exactly.
discovering this world. And since you have it all planned out, it'll all fit together
Yeah.
when they're discovering it, and
Yeah, you won't end
simultaneously
up
you're discovering it.
yeah, you won't end up with like mentioning a certain like person who did some great thing in the past and then like a couple of chapters later mention another person who did a great thing in the past but what you like end up saying will conflict with each other because that's what you'll get a lot if you don't build
Yeah,
a history. You'll get a lot of conflicting stories, a lot of conflicting history, and that like it just won't. It would be like there's people out there who will sit there and try to match like make the timeline, and then at some point it's gonna not make sense, and it's
yeah,
gonna be like, well, if this person did such great things and the world was prosperous, what happened to make this dude have to do it essentially again? And so like there's like a whole bunch of stuff that you need to like incorporate
yeah.
essentially.
You know how we
And
have we
you don't even necessarily have to tell everybody everything in the novels. Like I mentioned in the last video, there is a whole bunch of stuff that is not ever said in the Lord of the Rings trilogy
yeah.
that you have to get the Silmarillion to actually know. And that's great. Like you feel like you're only getting a snippet of
You're
the
only seeing what Frodo and them are seeing.
yeah, exactly. And like that's awesome. Like that's amazing.
But
And
while you're only seeing what they're seeing, you get this great sense that
yeah,
this isn't just the world. Like this is a whole
yeah,
like planet.
this has been in the works forever. Like this has been going on for because like you already know because what's her butt that I can never say her name. The really really creepy elf chick
Yeah.
who she just talks like and then there were five things that ran along the thing. She talks like that. But she's like forever old. Like she's a billion years. She doesn't die. So like where did she come? When was she born? When did she come into play? When did she become like this great wizard? Like you already know that because like when you meet her in The Hobbit, she's already centuries old because she's older than Gandalf, and Gandalf is a billion years old.
Yeah.
And so there's like so much extra history that you don't know, but you know exists because like all of the characters there have such. You feel like all of the ages of the characters, even though they don't look their ages, you feel it because like they have such wisdom and they say things and they like mention stuff that happened in the past, but they don't just like go into detail because it's stuff that the reader doesn't need to know.
Yeah.
but it's just awesome.
But the fact that they mention it in passing, like,
Mm-hmm.
we mention stuff about our history, but the way that we mention history and the stuff that we mention that we actually experienced are very different. And they explain it or even just mention it in passing as if they experienced it.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
like,
What happened?
how do you know this?
What? And like it instills like a sense of, well, now I just want to know to the reader. Like I want to know
Yeah,
all these
fantasy is a
things.
lot about discovering.
Yeah. You want to make the reader feel like they not only do they want to experience the journey with the characters, but they want to learn the stuff that even some of the characters already technically know because they live in that world. But you want to instill like, I want to know what this world is. I want to
Yeah,
experience this world as if I've lived there myself.
as if
Like if you
I
could,
am a hobbit leaving my hole for the first
I want,
time.
I, you have no idea how badly I want to be a
I
hobbit.
want a hobbit hole so bad.
Yeah.
It'd be amazing.
Right, I know.
Everything is round.
And it's beautiful. Like you can go to New Zealand and we can go and visit the Hobbiton area because it's
There's
still
a,
there.
I think, I can't remember if it was it in New Zealand? I don't know. There's a bar that's
Yeah,
like
like,
a
we can
hobbit
go to
bar.
New Zealand as if we can.
There's a
What?
hobbit bar. I can't remember where it is. Someone mentioned it in the
Hobbit
YouTube
bar?
video that I was watching, and there's this bar, but it's like a hobbit bar. And I was like, what?
I don't even drink and I want to go there.
I just want the food. I want hobbit food so bad.
I just want to eat Hobbit food. I just
I'll
want to go
probably try if there's like a specific beer that they make there. I'll try that. But
there. No, I just want to be a Hobbit, like really bad.
let's
I
do
want to
it.
be able to eat a whole bunch and people not be like, "Why are you eating so much?" And like you're just like, "Bitch, I'm a fucking Hobbit." That's all
Look
I
at
do all
my
day.
feet. Do you see the no shoes and the large toes and the
Can you not
hair?
see how big my feet are?
Look at the bottoms of my feet. Look, look. It's better than any shoe you will ever own.
It's true. It says it in the book. It's fact.
It's in a
Oh,
book. That means it's real.
clearly.
Anyway,
But yeah, that's like what you want. You want a world that feels fuller than just that instance of the reader is reading. You want there to feel like there's so much more to the world because then it'll feel way more realistic and feel more like it's meant to be there. It's
yeah.
not just like plopped in for this one instance
The,
because the girl comes in and she realizes she's the actual heir to the kingdom and then she has to get to the whatever. Whatever your storyline will be.
yes, stuff. But yeah, and the same goes if you're not writing like an epic fantasy like that. If you're just writing like an urban fantasy, you still have to go through that entire thing and you have to make it make sense with the history that the reader is already gonna know because it's in this world. So
Yeah.
that's difficult.
Yeah. It's
Cause
like
like
you still like no matter what fantasy you're gonna be making, you need to have a backstory for it
yeah,
because it's
I
yeah,
think
it's a world that doesn't actually exist. So
exactly. Like
yeah,
if
yeah,
it's if
yeah.
it's taking place in like New York, but there's fairies, why has no one ever
Why?
noticed fairies before? Why are they there? Have they been there the entire time? Like there's so many questions.
Yeah, like you have to still like you have to basically build upon the already like known history of our world to be
Yeah.
able to make it a bit more not weird and questionable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of the setting for fantasy is gonna be very linked to the history of your story. As you can see, setting is linked to at least one thing in every genre. So
Yeah, there's always you can never just make a setting. Like, well, I guess you can,
YA
but
does it
there's
all the
something that's
time.
gonna be depend. Yeah, YA does it. But if you want a good YA, it's usually linked to something else.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So
Most
next,
settings are gonna be linked to something.
yeah,
Next,
is romance. What is the setting in
what
romance?
did we say about romance?
What beaches?
We said beaches and like cities or small towns.
Yeah, with a
Beaches, cities, or
population,
small
there's gonna
towns.
be like a choice for like the main character like of mates.
Right.
It's gonna be very
Of,
social.
of mates.
Of mates.
No, sexual partner.
Hey, I didn't say that.
Someone
You
who.
put that on the table. You did it. Anyway.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay, so how. I guess you like romance is one of the novels that you could just write a place for,
Because it
especially if you're doing.
romance is basically realistic fiction.
Yeah,
So
pretty much.
just make it
So,
take
like,
place in a place that exists.
yeah, just give it a place. It's very, like, there's certain settings that fit better with romance, like I said,
Beaches.
cities, small towns, and beaches. Beaches.
Beaches.
All of the beaches.
Every beach.
Beaches.
I want to write a story named Beaches now, and it's about this girl who like wants to go to every single like major beach in the world, and like this guy is like following her, and like her footsteps are in the sand, and it's all he keeps missing her, and then her footsteps disappear, and it's like oh sad. It's gonna
And
be a
then
tr-
everyone
it's
cried.
gonna be a travel novel, and then it's gonna end in like California or something.
Okay.
It's gonna be like
Sure.
super sad. But all romances have happy endings, so.
Okay. Anyway, um, so yeah, like romance is like that one genre where like you pick a setting and then you kind of figure out your characters. Like where do you if you're gonna have like the girl be new to the town, why did she move to the town? Why blah 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 blah. Like I don't know, it's weird. Romance is weird.
I
Just
think
just write it. Just do whatever you want.
I think the romance is linked to your characters. Like it's
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, so your setting and your characters kind of have to be compatible. Like you can't have I mean, I guess you could have like a beachy girl like suddenly move to the city, but you have to like know that that's your intention to have that
Yeah. Yeah. And
opposition.
give a good reason as to why. Because one of the one things I hated most about Twilight was the fact that Bella moved to Washington, even though she
She didn't want
loved
to.
Arizona. Yeah, she didn't want to. And then all she did all day was complain
It's like then
about
just
having to live in
go
Washington.
live with your mom then in Florida. Like it's sunny. It's with your mom who you like. Like I know you
Who
don't really know
cares
her
if your
boyfriend,
stepdad
but
has to Yeah, who gives a shit if your stepdad has to travel because he's in the baseball thing or whatever?
how
Like,
old
who
are
fucking
you?
gives a shit? Your mom loves you.
Couldn't you
You're
just
like, she's
she's
like
like what? She
17.
was like 17. They could just like get an apartment together for like that 1 year and then she could go wherever she wanted.
Yeah,
She could
pretty
just
much.
be
I don't
home
know.
alone while
Like,
the mom traveled with the boyfriend, and she would just be
yeah.
probably in a city or on a beach somewhere being happy and probably get a boyfriend that way and just be not in a book.
Okay.
I'm okay.
Okay. That's good. Yeah, no, that's like that was one of my biggest annoyances with Twilight was that like it just never felt like it was fully explained as to why
It
she did
wasn't.
that move.
It
Like
wasn't.
it's just it's stupid.
And
Like
that's
the
like the most popular romance. How?
so your audio keeps lagging out.
Your video keeps lagging out.
Well, your video keeps lagging out as well as your audio.
Look, it says our connection is bad.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Well, my connection is actually a medium, so.
Well, yeah, it says yellow.
Oh, well, these. It
Boobles.
seems to be fine now.
Don't jinx it.
What?
There's a lag, but whatever. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, like if your character in romance is very much linked to your setting in romance, like you want there to be a purpose as to why she's in this, that he or she is in this area. Why is he or she like upset with being in this area? Why do they like being in this area?
Well,
Like,
yeah, because the setting is gonna, um, with your main character is gonna be connected to their personality.
right.
Like, if you take the beachy girl and put her in a city and it's like super fast and like kind of smells bad and it's danky and smog and blah, and she's used to like fresh air and like going surfing every day, and she can't like find a physical thing to do with herself like that makes sense with what she used to do. That's gonna determine like how she's gonna meet the person, you know.
Right, exactly. Like if you take the small town girl and put her in the big city, why did the small town girl go to the big city? Is like she's got to be overwhelmed by the big city because like if
Yeah.
she's like totally into the big city, it's not realistic.
No, yeah,
Like
she's
it's
gonna
just
get
not gonna
overwhelmed
be.
and she's gonna get flustered and probably on the sidewalk drop her bag, and that's when the guy picks it up and he's like, "Hey, do you need some help getting around the city? I'll show you how to use the subway." And then love. So
And then they fall in love and have a billion babies.
a billion.
A billion babies.
That's
They
in
will
the sequel.
essentially populate China.
The sequel is sci-fi, so
The sequel is having a billion babies and dealing with a billion babies. Oh man, that would be crazy.
yep.
Mhm.
Anyway,
All right,
so
what was
that's
next
romance,
after
and then
romance?
paranormal.
Yeesh. Paranormal. What did we say? Your audio cut out. Hardcore.
Your video is like blocks.
So is yours. Your video is
Ah!
just all blocks. What has happened?
Skype, why? Why are you a
Why?
douche right now?
Why are you doing this?
It's like, it's suggestion is like, just speed up your computer.
Oh, great! Thanks, thanks, Skype. Wonderful. So glad that that's the decision that you made.
Well, it looks okay now. So paranormal.
Yeah. Paranormal.
Um,
What was our setting for? What was our thing?
Paranormal has,
Haunted houses, right?
yeah, it takes place.
Like very normal stuff that was
It's like in a very normal setting that slowly becomes not normal.
right. Yes.
So that it's more and more claustrophobic or intense or scary.
Right. Right. So how best? What should you do first? Oh, I think paranormal kind of goes with horror. Like you want to get like what your main baddie is gonna be. Like, is it gonna be a ghost that's been haunting the house for years? Is it gonna be multiple ghosts? Is it just gonna be like some weird thing in your house or whatever setting?
I
Whatever.
don't know. I think with paranormal, you could go that route, or you could go start with setting, slowly have weird things happening where it just keeps escalating, and then have a logical answer at the end.
Hmm.
Like, you don't necessarily have to know what you're doing to have weird things happen, because if it's a ghost, like, they don't have to, like, the things that they do don't have to make sense together because everything in the spiritual realm comes out boggled anyway, so.
True. I guess you could just like figure out your like, okay, we want to have this very normal suburban home in the middle of like Indiana because that's a very normal town,
Yep.
and just slowly like weird things like, this chair is now turned so it's facing the wall.
How do you feel about that?
How does that make you feel? All right, a little creeped
Or
out. All right, we're just gonna put it back. Just
even if it's not a ghost, even if you're like, you can make it seem like it's a ghost novel, but in the end, it was actually like these witches messing with someone.
right, like
Like, if there's magic involved, a lot of things can happen that you don't need like a super like complicated thing to explain
right,
what's
right, right.
happening. So just say magic. That's the end.
Magic, reason,
Yep.
sorted.
So yeah, I think with paranormal,
Yeah, that's
it just
yeah.
has to be. It's kind of plot related where it has to be normal, but it has to be um, able to be manipulated in a scary way.
Right. It has to be like a manipulated setting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, suburban homes, good starting place.
Yes. And I realized last time we didn't talk about sci-fi,
Oh no!
but basically
How did we not talk about sci-fi?
space and technology that doesn't exist. Like,
Space, the future, and it like altered dimensions.
yes.
Oh, those are sci-fi, pretty much.
And sci-fi, I mean, as long as you can make the character explaining the techno babble like kind of make sense, you could do whatever you want.
Yeah, like the great thing about sci-fi is like it can feel very real if you can back it up with the science and the math and the
Yeah.
logic.
There's gonna be a
Like
lot of
if you
research
just
involved.
say, yeah, it's like it's not gonna be like a easy novel to write. Like there was one book I had to read in high school when we were doing science fiction, like for reading. I can't remember what it's called, but it involved like bio warfare and stuff, and like it felt terrifying because there was so much like science behind it, and like it just as you were reading it, you were just like, I'm basically reading, we're gonna die. You're basically
This is
telling me
gonna
you're
happen tomorrow.
screwed. Like this is a real thing that's happening, even though it was a yeah, like even though it was like a fake thing that didn't exist, there was just so much like facts and stuff that it just felt real that like it like apparently it was like a book that I think Bill Clinton wrote or like read and like it really freaked him out or something. One of the presidents read it and like it really freaked him out and like thought it was going to be like a real thing. Like he didn't think it was fiction after that. But yeah, it was
Huh.
like really intense. And I can't remember what it was called because high school is a blur
Yeah.
of sadness.
Tear.
Yeah. But yeah, like that scientificness needs to be there. Like you need to be able to back up. You can't say, well, now we have these little like pad things that come out of our arms so that we can always have our iPhone with us. Why do we have that? Why do we need that? Why was that a thing
We
that needed to
don't
be a
need it.
thing?
Why do we need iPhones exactly?
I don't know. Uh,
They're not like needed to survive.
well, like, well, what I'm saying is like, what made it in like this world that
Yeah.
made it so that we needed to have that? Like, that was a thing that was like the next step in like the phone development thing was in
Technology. Yeah.
putting it in your arm so that you never
It's
lose.
just like a screen pops up and you're like beep 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 beep. Hi,
Hey.
mom. Or like it's just like you actually do this now. Like that's
Yeah,
your
like,
phone.
hey mom. What's up, mom?
That would be
Yeah,
awesome.
that would be cool. It's so easy. Hey,
What's up?
what's up?
Hey.
But yeah, like that, it's like a lot of hefty research. It kind of goes back to fantasy where you
Yeah,
have
it's very similar
really,
to fantasy.
where you really need to like research and know like, especially if you're gonna do like an alternate dimension, like that takes it into fantasy where it's like, how do you get to the alternate dimension and what is going on in the alternate dimension? Why is the alternate dimension important? Like kinds of all that stuff. If you're gonna do it in space, like follow Firefly and just like do like how they did it, where you're like, oh, Firefly, so good.
Firefly. Ah, my heart is breaking.
Sorry. I've had time to get used to it. It still breaks my heart, but I've had time.
I've had time. I just refuse.
Like I wanted to come back just as much as the next person because it was really good.
But now
But
it's like impossible unless they get new actors.
yeah.
But yeah. Anywho's.
Anywho,
So, are there any other genres that would be
Yep.
like I don't know. We touched on YA. I mean,
Yeah.
YA isn't like necessarily a genre, but it's like an age group that has a bunch of tropes.
Yeah. Well, like I said, like if you like we stated, it's always tends to be in high school, but if you can put a twist on the high school
Yeah.
thing, that's awesome. But like if you do put a twist on it, why? Like why has this thing happened?
True.
Why are they
The
now going to
I
this
think
school instead of this school?
the setting for YA is going to be very linked to who you want to read it.
Right,
It's
yes.
going to be very audience based. So,
Hmm. Yes. Agreed.
agreed. Um, so since we finished talking about how we would go about constructing these different settings and genres, how did with the most recent setting that you created, how did you first start creating it?
Um, okay. Oh,
Like not
geez.
necessarily if you did it correctly or not, or like do you think
Right.
it was a strong setting? Have you had to change it like a million times? Is writing setting a strength or a weakness for you?
Um, Setting has never been that hard for me. I just tend to change what I want, like in the middle, because like I've only recently started outlining for my novels, so
Me too.
writing for me was just like I'm gonna write. I just feel like writing this part. Like I just had an idea pop into my head, and so I started writing it, and so the setting was subject to change, like in the middle of it. Like I'd find the setting halfway through writing the story,
Yeah.
which is not a good way to write. You should not do that. It's
It's
pretty
very
bad.
slow and time consuming.
Yeah. Um, but the way I set up my setting for Friend Zone, which is the story I'm working on currently, it goes through a bunch of things because they're like the characters are in their mid 20s, so they're finding themselves in like they live in Chicago because they pick Chicago because not many things in pop culture involve Chicago anymore. It's usually like New York or LA. Those are the two. That's
Yeah.
it. Or it's like really small towns. They're not city. It's like they don't use Chicago because people tend to forget that Chicago is actually a big city. You
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Good?
I'm good.
Right. But yeah, I also live near Chicago, so I know a lot about Chicago and
Mm-hmm.
like the stuff that they have. Like it's not like a city that I have to sit down and like research and like, okay, well there's like these museums. Like I already know what museum Chicago has. I already know like where the Daily Plaza is and how to get there. Like I know all of that stuff, which helps. It helps when you know if you're gonna use a real place to know it already because it makes it easier to make it realistic. Um, but I just like the idea of using a city because of like, how young the people are and them finding themselves within a city rather than like a small town. 'Cause small towns are annoying.
Okay.
But the way it starts out is like it sets it up because like it starts off at a wedding and the main character is slumped over at a bar, miserable. So it's just like this glorious disposition that I just love so much because like it follows the main character who's just upset and miserable, while the two people that he's upset and miserable about are all being in love and happy and just like fine. And I just love that disposition. It's just so nice. Makes me happy.
Yeah.
Like Alexi and Dean, the two people that he's mad at, are in Paris enjoying their honeymoon for most of the novel, and
So
he's stuck.
romantic.
Oh, romantic, yeah. And Graham is stuck in like Chicago, shitty gray Chicago, and it's shitty grayness, and it's crappy Lake Michigan, and,
And it's
um,
windy,
and
snowy,
it's
wonderful.
windness. So it's just like it's this glorious disposition where he's just in this miserable state. He's in a miserable city. He's just upset, while the people he's upset about literally could give two shits. Like it's so nice. It's so nice. It's awful, but it's so nice.
It's so nice from a writing perspective.
It's awful from Graham's perspective, but thank God he's not real.
Graham, if you're out there.
I'm sorry. I'm putting you through this. Oh, anyway, what about you?
I am very bad at setting. Um, I've taken enough writing workshops to know that my teacher always said that there are two different type of writers. There's the type of writer that's really good at world building and not at all good at character building, and then there's the kind of writer who's very good at character building and their dialogue and not at all good at their world around them. And I am the latter. So
I am definitely the latter.
I'm
Yeah.
I've like we created the character so long ago and I've like honed them to like death, like almost
Yes,
literally. So
I know.
so I have the
The
characters
amount of
down.
emails I get saying, "Hey, I just changed Andrew's character again." Great.
Well, it's like it's not like changing him, but it's mostly just
Yeah,
like
no, I know.
figuring more about him since I've been sitting with
Yeah,
him
no.
forever. But
It's been here for the entire time. Yeah, yeah. Like I think I'm way better at character building than I am at world building. I tend to like because I do a lot of like young adult where I just or romance, I guess, um, where it's just set in like a town and you just kind of the town is just like the backdrop. It's what happens in the
yeah, it's
town
not
that's
like super
important.
complicated.
Yeah, because I love character building so much because it's so good. It's so wonderful.
So fun.
But like there's like the inner part of me that is like you want to write an epic fantasy because Lord of the Rings is one of your favorite
Exactly.
novels in the entire world,
I think
but
every
you are
writer wants to
such
write
crap.
one. It's like
But
I'll
to
just
sit
take the
down and
Lord of
just
the Rings
build,
world and plop it right here, and I'll write a
there you
story
go.
with that.
I'll write my own story within the Lord of the Rings world and
Frodo
be happy.
didn't die, and it was a thing. Ah,
Basically, I'm gonna publish
Smeagol's
my fan
back.
fiction. Smeagol's back. He didn't actually die in the lava. Ah. He was actually immune to the lava.
He turns into a
He's
lava
become
monster. He is
he's
now the
now the
new
next
Sauron.
punk.
He wants all the potatoes,
All of the potatoes.
and all hobbits must die.
Oh no. Yeah, cause like it's just like to build like that's like the next level writer shit right there. When you could just build an entire like world, like Game of Thrones is has an amazing world to it and like an amazing history. And there's been so many wars, and you can literally go online and read about every single last one of them, and you have no idea where any of them takes place in the entirety of the world. But it's absolutely amazing, and it's so realistic, and yet there's dragons,
I know.
and it's like it feels like it
It is
should
so
be like a it should feels like it should be set in like a medieval time story, but there's also dragons,
and like
and
slight
that's awesome.
magic and like these Zambi things. What?
It's just really good.
Oh, it hurts my brain.
Yeah, yeah, and I just like I want to be able to sit down and just write a world and write a story within it, but that I barely have time to write the crappy stories that I do now. I don't even know when I'm gonna get the time to write an entire history of a world and then happen to write a story within that world.
Yep.
That's crazy. I just wish I didn't have a job.
Can
That would
writing
make
be
my
our
life.
job? Let's do it.
I wish. It'd be great.
Great. So,
Interesting. So,
what did we learn today?
setting sucks.
No!
What?
Setting is very important to your story. It's
Yeah.
linked to many different areas within the story, like plot, character, um, killer, audience, stuff like that. So it's very important that you know how to identify where your setting is going to have the most impact and what it's connected to, and to
Mhm.
set it up according to that, and not just create a thing and hope it works.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. So, we learned a thing. It was a
Hey.
great time. What's going to be our topic next week?
I have no idea.
Well, um, we'll let you know. Uh,
We will get back to you next
on
week
that.
with our new topic. And it'll actually be the video on the topic. So it'll be a surprise.
Woo. So, without further ado, bye.
Yes. Hi. Bye.
Continue chewing your pens, and we will see you in the next video.
Perfect.
Anyway,
Anyway,
bye.
thanks for watching.
We love you.
I'm so mature.
I'm so dying.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Well, goodbye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.